Nothing to hide, Dave, I'm sure. Moving on, and today saw the release of the first large-scale survey of how students and teachers react to the Naplan test. And the answer is, they're freaking out.
What a Naplan test for? To compare kids across the nation on their language and math skills. What are some of the unintended consequences for students? Stress, tears and health issues. That's according to a survey of over 8,000 teachers released today. The study showed 80% of educators report students feeling physically sick before the test, and nearly 70% of students were fearful of how their parents would react to their Naplan result.
It's now been moved away from just being a diagnostic test to being a ranking between schools and worse still between teachers.
The survey also confirms fears that Naplan would lead to teaching to the test.
Teachers are being forced to get the best results they can at the expense of curriculum time for other important skills and knowledge.
But the paper has its critics because the sample was drawn from members of the Australian Education Union.
It's about 3% of union members. It's a self-selecting survey.
The authors admit that more study needs to be done, but as a first look at the consequences of Naplan, it's a pretty worrying picture.
Eric Sidoti heads the Whitlam Institute, which published this research. Now, Eric, we were tossing this around in the office today. Steve, you're not quite convinced about these figures,
No,
are you?
look, Eric, I mean, 80%, that figure, it seems ridiculously high to me. That can't be right, can it?
Have you read the report?
Well, obviously, I haven't read the full report, but I mean, 80% of teachers saying that there are kids who are sick, please.
Yeah, the report explains those figures in considerable detail. What 80% of teachers are saying that at least one child has reported some symptom or indication of stress or other form of anxiety. And we give a number of indicators. It's not saying that 80% of kids are sick. In fact, the report's quite clear saying that for a number of young people, young students, they breeze through it. It's not an issue for them. What's surprising in these figures, though, is the level of the number of breaches indicating a significant number of young people are finding it difficult in all sorts of ways. And that goes from mild forms or indicators of stress through to quite some serious forms such as vomiting, sleeplessness, crying. And in the open question, we found, which we weren't expecting, a number of teachers reporting that their children were hiding under the desks during the exams. So, you know, I think if you read the report, you'd find that it was pretty clear on some of that stuff.
Well, I've got children. I mean, that's probably better than reading the report. And they've done Naplan, and they've done it in recent years. And what they have done is done it like any other exam. I mean, this is just inflammatory, panicky stuff. Kids hiding under desks and not sleeping. I mean, please.
Yeah, but with due respect, having children is not sufficient in terms of reaching conclusions. It's the same as making policy by anecdote. That's the whole point of research, is to try and test our assumptions, test the conclusions. If your kids have breezed through it, that's well and good. It's fantastic, and maybe they're getting lots of parental support. I think you'd find it's a pretty sobering report, but inflammatory, I think, is miscasting it entirely.
Did it surprise you that the other thing the study showed was that teachers weren't exactly clear what the purpose of the testing was?
There's a couple of things to be said. The first is that clearly the Naplan was originally established for all the good reasons. It was established as a diagnostic tool to try and give us some firm data on how our students were performing in literacy and numeracy, and to assist through that diagnosis in improving the rates and supporting students. Now, no one has any problem with that, quite clearly. At the same time, what we are discovering is there are unintended consequences. Now, in terms of teachers understanding the purposes of Naplan, one of the things that appears to have happened is that it has become so overlaid with other consequences. It's linked to their own performances. They're feeling under pressure from parents. Schools are worried about the reputation that flows from a false, from a negative report or dropping Naplan results. And so it's come to mean a lot more than simply a diagnostic tool.
Well, let's hope you can get funding with the kids and their families next time, and we can see how they feel about it as well. Eric, it's been great to chat to you tonight. Thanks so much for your time.
No, anytime. Thank you very much.
In today's web poll, what should be done with Naplan? 18% said leave it, 50% said abandon it, 32% said make the teacher sit it, 100% said let's see Steve Price sit it.
It's very interesting, though, because the survey was of the teachers, so I wonder what and the teachers aren't big fans of it, so I wonder what the students would have to say about it.
Very different answers you'd get.
Oh, they wouldn't like it. I got nervous even looking at those kids doing those tests. But, you know,